Hi, folks. We're just slowly having people admitted to our space right now. I am going to, as people come in, we are including the link in the chat. So this way you have all of the information. But I am going to get everybody as we start to collect our individuals as part of this session. I am going to ask you to complete the soft entry challenge. This is a really nice way to get started on any type of learning environment, whether it be virtual or in person. So you can, now that you have the link, you can either click or you can scan the QR code, and it's just a little Padlet asking about augmented reality, your experience, what you know, and you can just say, I do know or I don't know. All right, so as we move through, I am going to go back to this in a few minutes just so that I see where people are coming from, kind of that diagnostic really. But again, for those who just entered, there should be the QR code that you can access, as well as a hyperlink, and the link to the entire presentation is in the document here. But this is just asking about your augmented reality experience. So this is our third and final session of Edith Lando, who was very gracious in providing a grant for inclusive making and makerspaces. And this is exploring specifically augmented reality and looking at different tools and ways to engage in an inclusive space, just a learning space, but then also through provocations and challenges to really ignite that passion in individuals and draw from 21st century competency development and really look at where we're moving through this metaverse. So before we begin, and before I even introduce myself, I do want to provide you with a territorial acknowledgement. I will say my name is Dr. Carrie Ewart, and I am joining you today from actually the land known as Takaranto, and it is the land of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabeg, and the Huron-Wendat peoples. And I'm also, so that's where I live and play, but I work on the unceded and traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh Nation in BC. And so I have a little bit of a commute back and forth, but I have been so privileged and honored to work with a number of Indigenous elders and knowledge keepers and sharers over the last couple of months, particularly on a project that I'm working on. It's an immersive reality project with canoe culture, Squamish canoe families, and working with elders and hearing these incredible stories. And it really allows me to pause for a moment and really think about the privilege and about being honored to live and play and work on this land. So I invite you at this time, if you would like, to share your own land acknowledgement. As well, you can click on any of the hyperlinks here just to learn more about territorial acknowledgements in this capacity. So I did not introduce myself in full. My name is Dr. Carrie Ewart, and I am a faculty member as well as coordinator for equity, diversity, inclusion, decolonization, and anti-racism at the Master or within the Master of Educational Technology program. Some of you here today are from there. And I'm very, very passionate about inclusivity in spaces and learning spaces and participatory ecologies. And so the work that I'm doing and research I'm doing right now is how do we create inclusive and equitable spaces through the lens of technology integration, through maker challenges, making provocations, in a way that really elicits a sense of community. It is drawing on people's experiences and intersectionalities and moving towards really this paradigm shift towards improved technology integration in educational contexts. So we are going to very briefly review section 1 and 2 of this series and then move through what is augmented reality into inclusive making in Augmented. You're going to have a lot of time to explore different tools that you can take immediately back to your own setting. There is an AR or augmented reality challenge to build empathy. And we also have a collaborative opportunity, and then just talking about how this is included in spaces. So, this is a little bit about me. I am an adrenaline junkie. I absolutely love being outside, love being part of anything that gives that rush, snowmobiling, snowboarding, ATVing, so on and so forth. And I'm the proud mom to two teenagers right now, as well as a partner who is extremely supportive. And I've taught everything through from K to 12 through to undergraduate, graduate studies, and teacher education, and then do a lot of teaching internationally. This time last year, I was in St. Vincent and the Grenadines teaching senior educational officers and administrators on basically best practice pedagogy. So unfortunately, I'm in the cold right now, but that's okay. So just a very, very quick review from last time. We look at what it means to be inclusive in our spaces and inclusive in making. And it's really recognizing who is missing from your story, who is missing from the environment. And we use the culturally responsive pedagogy as kind of a framework by which you are creating a space, creating the content, and choosing all of your materials. So this QR code, I think it's linkable as well, is a document that I put together, and it's considering culturally responsive pedagogy and questions for you to ask yourself to make sure that you are creating a space that is welcoming, that is inclusive, that really honors everybody's voices and cultures. So this is my son actually made this up for the Summer Institute one year, just in what's missing. And these are by no means exhaustive of all of those voices and peoples that are missing, but at least it gives us a chance to think back and think, are all voices here? So anybody who is in my inclusive makerspace or is going to be in my AR, XR, VR course this summer, we use the liberatory design thinking model, and it's from Stanford University, and this comes from an equity project, national equity project, in fact, where the design thinking process was expanded, which used to just be the empathize through to test, to include the notice and reflect. And the notice piece is, am I noticing my own inherent biases as I approach the work that I'm doing? Am I recognizing my shortfalls and my the forthcomings that I need to recognize to make sure that everybody's included in this space? Everybody's learning and growing and striving and achieving in that space. And then am I consistently reflecting on my own practice as well as reflecting on the needs of my students? So this is kind of an all-encompassing model or framework by which we design and create spaces and content and learning activities. And this is something that drives the design of this particular workshop and pretty much all the work that I do. Okay, so this here is part of what Edith Lando had funded, is the design of the space, and this space is constantly redefining and reiterating. There are EDIDA frameworks, equity, diversity, inclusion, decolonization, anti-racism frameworks. There are sample provocations, sample inclusive maker challenges, lesson plans, unit plans, assessments. And I just finished with a group that I'm sending out a call to action this week, in fact, for any of my students who are interested in publishing their work on this site. So keep checking back, especially every term, because more and more work is being published on this site. And this site is in the works of becoming an XR or immersive reality site. So these challenges are turning into sample augmented reality or virtual reality. The whole premise of this is that you will be able to walk with the headset into the space and participate in virtual reality infused challenges with other people from around the world. So pretty cool. And then it utilizes that intersectionality of allyship. So this is just the driving force to everything that we're doing today. Examples of provocations, everything has a social justice lens to that, some place of how are we addressing different issues within society, a lot of UN sustainability, the sustainability goals and connections to those, as well as many are aligned to BC curriculum, Alberta curriculum, Ontario curriculum, and beyond. And there are a lot of activities here that are applicable from K through to 12 and then beyond. So we have a lot of adult educators in different colleges and universities in this respect. So you can utilize the maker challenges and provocations in every space. So looking at augmented reality, the augmented reality is where you have an overlay of technology in your environment. It's like you're augmenting exactly your own reality. So the reality is the space that you're in, and then you're overlaying it with technology. Whereas virtual reality is that you are changing your reality and you're in a completely different reality, one that is not a physical or real space in that respect. And the metaverse is something that we're not quite there yet with the metaverse, but I call it the virtual world that will usher in the next phase of the internet. So we've heard of the metaverse. We're here, we're playing around with it, but we're not fully immersed. And within the next, they suspect 3 to 5 years, and when I say they, lots of research has gone into this, that augmented and virtual reality will be part of everyday education and teaching. And so we're kind of at the grassroots of it right now, introducing this into a space. So the more you can learn now, the better equipped you will be as things start to roll out. And so you'll see that there are a lot of benefits in augmented realities and different tools that we'll use, but there are a lot of drawbacks because people are still working through those quirks and not everybody's a developer. So they're trying to make it more mainstream for individuals, and you'll have a lot of opportunity today to play around with different tools. Okay. So I used this in my last seminar too. This is an avatar. So this was an avatar that took a picture of me and utilized AR or AI, artificial intelligence, as well as this one. So these are two similar programs. One is a cartoon version and the other one is more of a realistic. But these avatars you can place into augmented environments and have your avatar speaking to you or performing within a particular space. And we're going to talk a lot about how we can use this in classroom environments. So at this time, we are going to do a little explore and discover. These are just a few of the applications of AR in Makerspaces, and there are so many out there. But ones that I feel that I use, and ones that I feel are applicable and can be used tomorrow in an environment, a learning environment K to 12 and beyond, and ones that do not necessarily require you to pay an arm and a leg to be able to access. Of course, everyone has some type of space that you have to pay to be able to get more credits or things like that. But that is, and if you really think about it, it's protecting different intelligences. It's making sure that people's intellectual property are maintained. So if you were to use something, or back in the day, buy a textbook for information, it's the same sort of idea to that. It allows you to test it and use it, and it's fine within its free version. But of course, once you pay for it, you get even more and more capabilities and tools. So I am going to share one last time the Google slide links so that you can explore together. But I just want to take you through a few of these. This Google AR and VR, if you're not familiar to that, I'm just going to agree because I've read through them, thankfully. But it allows you exactly this to solve everyday challenges through virtual and augmented environments. So things like Google, they have the arts and culture, which we'll be going through in a few minutes, but it allows you to really look at the world in a different space. And it's fantastic for students because they can be creators, they can be curators, they can be designers, and they can really look to see how content can be examined in a very different approach. So if you look, one of the biggest things that's happening right now, and they have released it about, I would say 10 months ago, geospatial. You use it with AR Arrow, which I'm going to be showing you in a few minutes, but it allows you to take a view of the street or anything Google Maps related, and it allows you to add different structures and different augmented realities to those spaces. The reason why I say, even though it was released and this is just playing in the background, 10 months ago, is that you have to be invited to be able to test their tool. So I will show you how to do that. It's usually about 3 to 5 days before you get that invite if they decide that you are going to be invited to it. But really, what they're doing is to see how many people they can have on their platform that they can manage, because they don't want to release something that is just going to fall and fall short to people. So this is something where you're learning about the world in 3D. You can use AR experiences. You do not need goggles or any type of $1,000 glasses. You can just use a smartphone. But it allows you to really create an inclusive environment, because you can have overlays in different languages to different experiences. You can have students see these Google Maps, you'll see this, and be able to scan their environment and see what is available, information about those places. And the really cool thing is students can create these themselves. So now you've just taken the study of a place and you've transformed it into this incredibly rich experience that's redefined from something that never was possible prior to that. So if we look, and if I'm going too fast or anybody has any questions, please stop me. I'm just moving through these, and then you're going to get a chance to explore and discover on your own and create, which is extremely exciting. So Jigspace, if anybody is familiar or not familiar, it's compatible with Apple Vision Pro. I don't know anybody who has a couple $1,000 just to throw out an Apple Vision Pro themselves. I will be at a different point in time offering a session on funding. So anybody who's interested in applying for different grants that are out there, Best Buy, this is a good one for this session, because Best Buy offers one at the end of the school year, usually in about May or June. So we're getting into that time where you can apply for your school, and they supply teachers and schools and educators, instructional designers with old technology. And when I say old, I mean like an iPhone 12. So not old, but ones that have been traded for new versions, and they take those and they donate them to different schools and different classrooms depending on your use. So you have to write a proposal. But in the past, I've received class sets of phones where I would never have that possibility. And obviously, you've created this incredible ability for your students to explore augmented reality. And you don't need a class set. You only need a couple at different centers if you're doing centers or different areas or hubs. So this would be something that you can do without Apple Vision Pro. Okay, so they will give you a demo or you can get started immediately. But what it is they have pre-designed three-dimensional models that you can use. And what students can do is they can come in and they can add layers to these models. So if you ask them, say you're studying the heart, this is just an easy example, that they can go through, or the circulatory system, they can go through and they could label, they could add information, they can add videos, they can add sound, things like that. And then they look at it and scan it with their phone, and it adds all those overlays to the environment that they're already in. Okay, so this is one, this is obviously where it goes, and I'm not going to be playing everything. You can check it out yourself. But this is something that I would recommend more for secondary or higher education. Middle school, you can play around with it. A lot of it is just being able to look and learn and be able to see different ways of accessing information. And you see, typically you wouldn't be able to go in the middle of a machine or into a machine, and this way you can see that. So there's lots of ways that you can access different information. The amazing thing about this is that they will have somebody come on, for instance, if you have students working together, they'll have somebody who will Zoom in with you and provide just a demo and a follow this and do this and everything for classrooms. And it's free, which is fantastic. Okay, the next one you are going to be exploring today, and it is my web AR, and it offers 4 different ways for you to be able to access augmented reality and create augmented reality. So I threw one together very quickly today. It is on a trial, like a free basis. I am going to be pulling it up after, so I'm not going to go in just yet. But you can take a QR code and you can annotate that QR code. You can take any picture any 3D item or mix items in different environments. And you can, and this is just an example of what you're able to see here. And you're able to annotate those, add video, add overlays. It's really reimagining what technology can do and ways to access that. Okay. So the other one that we're going to be exploring today is Adobe Aero. This is actually a pretty easy one, and they have a really nice, they pair with Adobe anything, pairs with a lot of other sites that you can build and create and design, but then also has things available on their site. So you can use pre-designed three-dimensional figures. I have an example actually with this particular character that I'm going to be showing you. And you're able to, and I really like this because some of the characters, they don't have a lot. There's probably about 12, but they've been cognizant in terms of inclusivity and representation. Typically, when you look at different, especially newly designed apps and AR and capabilities, you get your standard 5 white men and 2 women. So this gives a little bit more in terms of representation, but this is one of those pieces that you'd want to have a conversation with students about. The other piece, Arrow, it actually merges with that geospatial with Google so that you can create and design here. Okay, but there's lots of incredible things that they've done, and we're going to be trying this a little bit later tonight. Co-spaces, many of you have used it maybe for virtual reality. But it is available in augmented reality as well. They have so many pre-designed items in CoSpaces, both for virtual and for augmented. And then you can have your students create in this environment as well. They have incredible tutorials that are usually about 2 or 3 minutes, so they keep the engagement of your students. And it's something that's accessible, and students can share and comment and things like that on each other's as well. And then finally, 3D Bear. And I have lots of resources at the end, but this is very much, you have a virtual reality as well as an augmented reality access. And again, they are really looking for that inclusivity space and including everybody. Virtual reality, they give you examples of immersive spaces that you can move into, but more so they look at the virtual or the augmented capabilities of this. They utilize 360 videos. They utilize different forms of technology through Google and Microsoft. But then they also give you a learning space. So students can actually be in this space and they can have different pop-ups depending on conversations. I know that some teachers have used this for literature conversations and critical discussions about a particular text. And students are able to add their comments through that pop up through an augmented sense, which is amazing. So that's enough of me kind of talking really. The last piece I really wanted to speak to, and this is the reason why I mentioned this both in my course as well as in this session, is because it's really, I shouldn't say inexpensive, but definitely less expensive than some of those other pieces out there. It's called the Merge Cube. The Merge Cube comes, it's about $29.99. You can get it definitely on sale. My students we're just waiting for the last shipment to come in and they get them as part of the course. And this turns anything into an augmented reality object, into a 3D object. You can also purchase the goggles with it or the headset, which you don't need to, but it just allows for that easier viewing. But this Merge Cube, they have tons and tons and tons with the purchase of this of pre-designed augmented reality content. Everything from sciences and social studies and languages and so on and so forth. But the amazing thing is you can also have your students create things and merge them together. So if you have several merge cubes, they can each create and those items come together within an environment, or your actual environment, which is really neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have everybody take a few moments on the next couple of slides. I'm going to go through them and then I'm going to get you to explore and discover, and we're going to come back together. This is Google Arts and Culture, and they have so many incredible augmented reality experiences where you can hold your phone up, you can see information about paintings or sculptures or different types of historical figures and things like that that have never been available in the past. So this is a clickable link that you can click. The next one is, these are just, I just included them so that you would have these, but these are different types, definitely not exhaustive because there are so many headsets that you can use for augmented reality. And then in some cases, like you have your MetaQuest 3, you have your augmented, these are the slits where you can see through the environment as well as your virtual reality all in one. But the other piece I want you to explore and discover, if you know VidIt, it basically, let me just pull it up here and then we're going to have some time. It allows you to scan or click on any of these, and then you're able to see this within your own space. So you're going to scan that code, and any type of animal, there's several pieces there that you can see. You can actually see it in your own space, and it really makes it neat for students or learners to draw on real life objects and bring those into their own space. And then they can do overlays with any of their other with any of the other apps. You can actually add different types of overlays to that. Same with the Egyptian tomb, for instance. You're able to move this around, explore. It's a 360, and thinking about how you might bring that into the classroom and how you could bring that into an augmented experience. The other tool is called Twinkle. I just wanted to point out the AI for Twinkle, first of all, for any educators here, if you're not familiar. But again, there's a join for free. But there are so many things that you can do in the classroom through AI. So designing and writing and asking tech questions and creating a PowerPoint presentation. And then if it's not there, you make suggestions and they add it to their AI. So the usability of this tool is incredible. But for this, there's over almost 600 augmented reality experiences here. So you can have anything from the human heart to a structure. And along with this, I'll just show you, is you have a free download. This is through when you sign in, but then you also have the access to a PowerPoint and to diagrams and to different types of experiences. So not only are you able to see this in an augmented sense, students can label it, they can add information, so on and so forth, but you're able to actually access so much more as well. Okay, I'm almost done. One thing I want you to do, I had my kids doing this earlier. I literally threw this together in probably about 15 minutes using the preempted. But if you go into Adobe Aero, what it's going to ask you to do is it's going to ask you to scan this code. Scan this code, you hit OK, and you find a horizontal surface. And I ask you, go in your house, try it. And once you have a horizontal surface, it's going to ask you to secure that surface. And then if you pull back and scan around, and you might have to back up a little bit, you're going to be able to see this character first in nature. And then as you keep pulling back, you'll see how the character is actually looking through a window. And so thinking of the possibilities of how you can draw this into a classroom environment or a learning environment in that respect, what you might be able to, sorry, this is playing there, what you might be able to add to that. And again, there's a lot of pre-constructed 3D, but there's lots of places that I'll be explaining later on where you can construct these yourself. This is just a video of what I was talking about, and this is that sign up piece that the geospatial, it's a pre-release to people so that you can sign up and get it released to you for free. And then the last two ones that I wanted to talk about, and then I'm going to send you to explore for 15 minutes, is Arise. This is something that's really neat for students who have created projects and who might take a 2D picture of the project. And then they can, in this space, turn it into a 3D image that they can walk around, they can view in AR, they can add different types of explanations to their project. So it just gives them a different way of sharing and learning and engaging with one another within these projects. So to have an AR space, almost like a conference where people can go around and really access each other's projects in that respect, it gives even more, and they can create themselves as avatars to talk about their project in that way. And then the last piece that I want you to explore, and again, I put this together, is my web AR. And this is an inclusive provocation that I would have where it looks at this book, Autumn Peltier's Water Warrior, and then it draws on first people's principles of learning, thinking about ways we can look at higher order thinking questions to probe curiosity and engagement, looking at KWH, LAQ, which is the inquiry KWL, and then giving information from the wolf, who is the translator of this information. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite everybody for about 15 minutes. You have access to the slide deck. It's one thing for me to talk at you and kind of show and tell. It's another thing for you to be engaged. So you might want to just click for 15 minutes on different pieces and try stuff. But I ask you, with if you have a smartphone or an iPad of any sort, I'm just looking over at mine, that you try this, you engage in it, you access all of these and really take from it. Because after this, I want us to share out what we learned and how you might use any one of these tools in your own environment.